Hello and welcome to Pop Screen, the Geek Show's podcast looking at the good, the bad and the frankly absurd of movies either starring, by or about pop stars. No, the podcast covers such a broad range of musical and cinematic genres, from country to hip-hop, from documentaries to science fiction. My name's Graham Williamson, I'm a film critic for The Geek Show and Horrified.com, and this week I've been joined by...
Yeah, I'm Rob, also known as Prob. I am one of the people behind the Geek Show, as in, like, way behind. I have been on the Geek Show since its inception. You can also find me on things like 4Panel and Keyframe and Impossible Mission, which is our video game video series that I do with the other Rob on YouTube. Along with a lot of other video game stuff like Monthly Games Marmalade. Which
Excellent.
I just love saying welcome to Marmalade.
Yes. It appeals to the Paddington Bear in you.
There's the thing where they have like a monthly games jam where you have all the game developers get together and like make games or talk about games and stuff like that. And I thought, why jam? Why not Marmalade?
Yes. Well, listeners, put yourself into the future, the far future of 2009, November 23rd, the 46th anniversary of Doctor Who. Using body-swapping technology, the super rich have worked out a way to jack your body. Jack your body.
I was waiting for that.
But the bodies of 2009 are so lousy with environmental pollution and cheap drugs, a detail that, to be fair, they did get right, that they must go back in time to get the healthy young body of Emilio Estevez. And masterminding this operation, why, of course, Mick Jagger. It's Freejack, a film that finally gets its audience to ask the question, why, what did Jack do?
I have to be honest, with Freejack, I watched it when it first came out on...
At cinemas?
Not on cinemas, I watched it on video, thankfully. I didn't pay for the cinema at that point. I was too young.
Now you mention it, I have remembered this did go straight to video in the UK, so yes, that was a dumb question of me.
It made me question a lot of things when I first watched it. Number one was sanity. Number two was Mick Jagger, as in, why, Mick? Why do this to yourself?
Yes, because any picture you might have in your head, listeners, of the most incongruous pop star performance cannot match up to how little Mick Jagger fits in Freejack.
See, this is, right, Freejack came out around the same time, if I remember rightly, as, what was it? Was it David Bowie and Mick Jagger dancing in the streets?
It was a bit later than that.
It was a bit later than that, but, you know, not too much later than that, if I recall. And that was still kind of fresh in my memory when I watched Freejack, so I honestly couldn't take Freejack seriously, and, yeah... There's a lot to say, Graham.
There is a lot to say, yeah. We should maybe explain who made this first. It's adapted from Immortality Incorporated by Robert Sheckley. He also wrote a film that both other Rob and I really love, The 10th Victim, which is adapted from his book, The 7th Victim. That's inflation for you.
You've been waiting for that joke.
There are so many opportunities to tell 10th victim-themed jokes.
Oh, I forgot. One of the other things that Graham and I do is literary loitering, so I'm used to his level of humour, which is, you know, kind of highbrow and well-read, but also really, really childish at the same time.
Really dumb puns about really obscure things.
Yeah.
Some things, of course, you don't have to make humorous, like the opening of Wikipedia's article about Jeff Murphy, the director of this film, Jeff Murphy is a director, writer, assistant director, special effects artist, school teacher, and trumpet player.
See, I have a look at things like that, and when they start listing the different things, I'm just like, someone's trying to overcompensate for something.
Yes.
What failure have you had in your life?
I have to admit, I could find very little evidence of his trumpet playing expertise in Freejack.
No, it's there. It's there. It's very well hidden, probably along with the James Brown references that are very well hidden.
The James Brown references?
Oh, do you not know about this?
No.
Oh, right. You know the Wilhelm scream, or whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
It's very famous in cinema. Did you know the James Brown scream is very famous in Freejack? You know the one from I Feel Good. You know at the beginning.
Wow! I feel good. Yeah.
There are moments in Freejack, and I didn't notice this until I watched it just recently for this episode that we're doing now.
Mm.
And there's a bit in the chase scene where he forces the dune buggy to go onto the pavement.
Yeah.
Right. And a guy jumps out the way, and all you hear is "Wow!" And I'm like, that sounds. I literally paused the video there. I went, that sounds familiar. Where have I heard that scream? And then it took me about half an hour just thinking about it. Why do I know that scream?
And it's because Mick Jagger produced Get On Up, the James Brown biopic starring the late Chadwick Boseman. Do you think he did that to, balance out James Brown's cinematic legacy after tarnishing it with Freejack?
I have no idea. I mean, wasn't James Brown still alive at the time of Freejack?
He was, yes. Yeah.
Do you think he knows that his scream was in Freejack? And the royalties to be paid?
Yeah, the royalties he would definitely be interested in. I think over the years, James Brown has probably been involved in a lot of things that he could not remember by the end of his life, and maybe this is one of them.
I could just imagine the scene in a recording studio somewhere with Mick Jagger and Emilio Estevez and just going, no, James, we just need you to scream. That's it. Just the one scream, that's it. Don't worry about everything else.
They got a whole live funk album just for that one scream. Because from the start of it, it starts off with opening credits that start off scrambled and then unscramble themselves while the soundtrack makes sort of noise, which is how you can tell this is made at a time when computers were still a wild novelty.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this... Freejack was one of those ones that tried to kind of catapult off the popularity of movies like Blade Runner and the rest. And it tried to market itself as... Because I remember the TV adverts for this.
Right.
I remember the TV adverts, the trailers for this that came on TV. And,
Were they really pushing the cyberpunk thing?
They were really pushing the sci-fi cyberpunk thing, really pushing it hard. And, when you look at the trailers, you think, this actually looks interesting. It's Emilio Estevez. He's not too bad. He was in Young Guns, and Young Guns, I can't remember, was Young Guns 2 out before then
Young
or
Guns
after?
2, which was also directed by Jeff Murphy.
Was that out after Freejack or before?
I think Murphy did 2 Hollywood sequels. He did Young Guns 2 before Freejack and Under Siege 2 after Freejack.
Yeah, because there was Young Guns...
That's how I divide time up, by the way. It's not BC and AD anymore. Everything is just before Freejack and after Freejack.
Well, yeah, I would go with that. See, there was that, and there was another Emilio Estevez movie that I watched, which was around the same time as Freejack, and I can never remember whether it was before or after. It was one he did with his brother Charlie Sheen.
Was that
called
Men at Work?
Men at Work, which I have a really big soft spot for Men at Work. I really like that film. It's one of my guilty pleasures, along with George of the Jungle and things like that, because it's a stupid film.
See, my main association with Emilio Estevez is that he was in one of my all-time favourite films, which is Repo Man.
Yeah.
And that was like about sort of 8 years before Freejack, and I'm looking at him at the start of this where he plays Alex, this kind of hotshot car racer. And he's still this little punk brat, really, isn't he? He's still Otto from Repo Man.
He is kind of. I've just checked. Men at Work was out before Freejack, which is why I kind of remember the two of them together.
BF,
but then,
not AF, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, not long after Freejack, he went and did the Mighty Ducks.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone forgets he's the coach from Mighty Ducks.
Not long after Freejack, he did
Yeah.
Judgment Night, which is
Exactly.
a really grim film. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's quite an odd career spot he was in. He was still, hot. He still had enough heat on his career to open a big movie. But maybe you could sense a bit of casting around, trying to work out who he is, because Freejack, The Mighty Ducks, Judgment Night, and Men at Work are not movies that have much in common.
Yeah, that's kind of an understatement when you put them all together, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just go, one of these is not like, none of these is like the other.
Yes. So in Freejack, he's in this thing which must have seemed like a dead cert at the time, because it's got, like I say, he's reteaming with Murphy after Young Guns 2. It's got Ronald Shusett on board as producer and co-writer, and Shusett is a big name in Hollywood science fiction of this era. He wrote an early draft of Alien.
He kind of co-wrote it, didn't he?
Yeah. And he also... He was the one person in Hollywood who seemed to watch Blade Runner and think, you know what, this Philip K. Dick fella, his stories might make some more good movies, and he optioned tons of them. So he has co-producer credits on Total Recall, on Minority Report, loads of different things.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I remember his name from Total Recall as well.
Yeah, he was very involved in that.
Yeah, I think in amongst all of that, Freejack is kind of it stands out.
Because let's for me, the point in which it starts going wrong is when it starts cross-cutting between the past and the future, and you've got Emilio Estevez as this dull racing driver dude going through this dull racing driver dude life, and then you've got these really pompously scored cutaways to Mick Jagger in Trucks of the Future.
And armoured vehicles of the future. And dune buggies, woohoo, of the future.
Yes.
I mean, if I say dune buggy, I have to go, woohoo, afterwards.
It's such a weird array of vehicles, though. It's like, this is a decade after Blade Runner, and that message that the future would not be full of crazy clothes has not filtered through yet.
Do you know what I realised about the vehicles in I was going to say Blade Runner, not Blade Runner, Freejack. What I realised about kind of the aesthetic of Freejack was that they were trying to go for a post-apocalyptic thing without being post-apocalyptic. And they'd spent too much time watching movies like Mad Max and looking at the vehicles in Mad Max thinking, yeah, we need those type of vehicles, but we need them to be more urban.
Yeah. And
that's spiky.
That is kind of where the problem lands, because there are some cool things that happen in Freejack. It cost a lot of money. It looks gorgeous. Yeah. But... well, it does. It's well shot. The design of aesthetic of it's on point. It's got that good kind of pre-CGI, chunky, real tech. I like that stuff.
Okay, I will agree with you there. It also has some really, really, really awful green screen effects.
Yes.
like every scene with Anthony Hopkins in, for example.
Oh man, the scenes with Anthony Hopkins in are just like lawnmower man levels of someone going, "Have you seen this stuff? You can morph from one photo to another. It's crazy."
You know, I mean, in some bits, I swear, it was like I was watching a weird kind of mashup of Max Headroom and Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins in the gritty reboot of Max Headroom.
And yeah, Freejack just brought back all sorts of bad memories about Freejack, specifically about Freejack.
I thought you were going to say like of the 90s or of that era of Hollywood cinema, but no, Freejack can only be referenced by reference to Freejack.
Yeah, it holds a special place in my heart as one of the movies that actually gave me nightmares about Mick Jagger and Mick Jagger's evil twin.
Because to my mind, Mick Jagger in this is like a more ridiculous Mick Jagger impersonation than Phil Cornwell on Stella Street. Like every time he comes on screen, it's like, "Hey, when are we gonna kill Emilio Estevez, Keith?"
Yes. I mean, if you've ever watched any interview ever with Mick Jagger, right, and then you watch Freejack, you know just how much strain he's under and how many lines he's done before he says his lines.
Yes.
Because there's no way Mick Jagger, when he's nice and cool and relaxed, he's all like, all floppy like, you know, as he normally is. There's no way Mick Jagger is saying those lines like that unless he is like, oh, someone's got him by the back of the neck.
He's playing a fascist bounty hunter from a dystopian future, and he sounds like he's about to break into faraway eyes at any moment.
And his evil twin was in the movie as well.
His evil twin?
Yeah, Mick Jagger's evil twin. Have you not noticed how the two of them resemble each other? Their faces kind of merge into one in my brain. You know, what's his face who played Emilio Estevez's agent?
David Johansen from the New York Dolls.
Yeah. But when you see him at the beginning of the film, okay, fine, you don't see it. But then when you see him later on in the film, in the future, when he's got the dark hair and everything, and then you put his face next to Mick Jagger's, you're like, no, don't merge.
That was a really nice treat for me because I did not know David Johansen was going to be in this film. And I think it casts into relief how rubbish Mick Jagger's performance is, because David Johansen is a really weird looking guy who is also giving a dialed up to 22 performance, but it kind of works.
The thing is, he would have been so much better. Because I know him from other stuff, and I've seen him in other stuff, and he's actually quite good.
He was in Scrooge.
Yeah,
famously.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that he would have been much better as the dystopian bounty hunter than Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have needed lines to deliver his lines. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Although he probably wouldn't have turned them down, but yeah, that was really weird. Having like two rock stars in, which I did not expect at all. The other really weird performance in it, and it's so weird that I wondered if she was trying to like draw attention away from Mick Jagger as a favour, but Amanda Plummer.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with Rene Russo, but yeah,
Rene Russo is just, I mean, she's fine. She's in a dull role. The most interesting thing about Rene Russo's role is that you see her character in like the 1990s and you see her character in 2009. She looks no different, which again is true to life. Rene Russo does not age. But
I thought it was interesting when, sorry to jump on you there.
Yeah,
Greg.
no,
I thought it was interesting right at the, when Alex Furlong, because that's like when Alex Furlong, because I mean I can't get over the name Alex Furlong, and then on the trailer they did it in like, you know, the the voiceover man, Alex Furlong. Yeah, exactly. Alex, I remember the trailer was like something along the lines of Alex Furlong is going to die. But that whole bit where he has the really bizarre accident and somehow goes flying over all the other cars into a bridge. Yes. How the physics of that happened, I'm not sure. But then at that point, the camera focuses a little bit on Rene Russo with the scream and the or whatever it is. I think it's doing that, or am I getting confused with the flashback thing? Might be the flashback thing. But there's a whole bit where she screams, and at that point, my brain goes to Get Shorty.
Yeah.
And the whole bit where she's like a former scream queen.
Yeah, she must have been tapping into this for that Get Shorty role.
So, for the entirety of Freejack, my brain was literally going out and borrowing references from somewhere else, from other movies I'd seen.
I think this legitimately could have been one of the films they were working on in Get Shorty.
Oh, God. Danny DeVito as the dystopian bounty hunter.
Yes! Already we've improved it so much.
I would pay good money for that. He'd be right up there with Joe Pesci as the bad guy from Moonwalker.
Yeah. I mean, you say you'd pay good money to watch that, but you paid good money to watch this for some reason.
Yeah. Thankfully, I was a kid, so it wasn't my money. My brother was the one who rented it.
So he's in that car accident, and they use rich Anthony Hopkins gets them to steal his body from like a second before he dies, and because he is stuck in something called the spiritual switchboard.
Yeah, which they never really explain.
No, because you can't.
There's a lot of stuff that they don't explain in this film, which I'm kind of glad about.
Yeah,
because I think knowing about it would ruin the magic. I can't say that. I'm sorry, I can't say that with a straight face.
So he's pulled into the future so that Anthony Hopkins can steal his body. And the people who do this operation are called bone jackers.
Yeah, for some reason.
Pretty unfortunate. I mean,
yeah, I know.
Yeah. But that happens, and there's this amazing bit where Emilio Estevez comes around from his accident, and he's in the back of this truck with a gang of surgeons who look like they're dressed up to dissect the Roswell alien. And one of them says, "Oh, shit, he's coming round. Get the lobotomizer." I just think, given the way Emilio Estevez has been acting already, the lobotomizer is surplus to requirements.
See, I just... That entire sequence of events, for one, all that foil just reminded me of, you know those foil bags of popcorn?
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there thinking, I'm peckish. I fancy some popcorn for some reason. Why do I want popcorn? And just the lobotomizer was just, I mean, they do like their crackly electric arc things, don't they?
This is a very, it's like they've got a pre-package of editing software that has that electricity effect, and they just thought, that is gold, let's get the most out of this.
Do you think, do you think this was like one of those movies that was made on what at the time was like really advanced editing software, but now would be like Microsoft Movie Maker?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that... we keep coming back to it, but that scene with Anthony Hopkins at the end, man, just needs a couple of star wipes.
Yes, it does.
Oh, man. And that's what doing literary loitering with Prob has prepared me for.
Yes, I have like the most childish sense of humour. What was it? We were doing 4-panel one time, and this will always remain with me until the day I die. We were going through a list of the members of X-Force, a mutant team, and Andrew got to Shatterstar, and I said, "You did a what?" I didn't even think. I just said, "He did a what?"
I mean, that is one of the all-time Americans should have run this past some British people names, isn't it?
Exactly. But anyway, back to Freejack.
Back to Freejack. Yeah.
Do you think they would have called them Bonejackers if they knew then what we know now?
Maybe, yeah. It was still a good few years before the lexicon of pornography was popularised by Louis Theroux.
Exactly. And before Phone Jacker and Face Jacker.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. But he gets into the future and he escapes from these people who have the lobotomizer. and from then on, it's kind of... A lot of it is a sort of scumbag to scumbag picaresque.
Oh, yeah.
Where he just sort of meets various scumbags, and one of them's, as I say, is Amanda Plummer doing this really bizarre, affected performance. It's like 2 years before she did Pulp Fiction, but spiritually it's a lifetime before she did Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yes.
One of them's David Johansen, who, like Rene Russo, has not aged a day since the 90s, and I can buy that with Rene Russo, but I cannot buy that with David Johansen at all.
Oh, no, you can tell he's aged because his clothes are scruffier, and he's wearing a vest instead of a suit, and his hair's scruffier, and he's unshaven. That's how you know he's older.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's just like... Nobody physically gets older, they just lose control of their personal grooming habits.
So me, basically.
Well, I guess it does kind of fit, really, doesn't it? Yeah.
Am I following that early 90s method of getting older then?
Just letting your stubble grow out and like putting on a duffel coat. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah.
The irony is, this is close to a duffel coat. It's a duffel hoodie.
Not far away.
Yeah.
You could be in the terrifying future of 2009.
I'm getting there.
What do you think this film wants us to take away from its future? What kind of dystopia are we in here?
Well, I remember the premiere of this was on the news, right? Because of the weird cars, the celebrities that went to the premiere. Little Richard, for example, and David Bowie and various others. And some of them took away from it that we're losing the ozone layer. That's a bad thing. We need to repair it, you know. CFCs are bad. Maybe change things. Climate change, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Fine.
Some of the people didn't quite get what the film was about, like Little Richard.
I'm just imagining Little Richard watching Freejack and it's capsizing my brain. I can't do it at all.
See, I think that the whole message about the ozone layer disappearing, which at the time was a very real thing. I know that it's kind of downplayed in favour of the whole bigger argument about climate change. No?
Well, the ozone hole is repairing. That CFC ban did actually do some good, so yeah.
Exactly. But at the time, it was a very, very big thing. And so, I mean, it's like now with the pandemic, and then you have Michael Bay making Songbird about COVID-23, which is a little too on the nose for me.
Tell you what, I was fucking glad that didn't have a pop star in, so I can go on ignoring it.
I know, when I saw the trailer for Songbird, I went, that's a bit distasteful, actually. You're making a film to make money off a current global pandemic.
It's like there is a very short list of people you would trust with that, isn't there? And Michael Bay's not really on that list.
Well, I don't care how prehensile his penis is. Sorry, that's a Robot Chicken reference.
Oh, good, because it did not make sense.
There's a sketch in Robot Chicken that they did about Michael Bay, where they have a bunch of executives who are basically got all these projects that they want him to work on, and he stood there with his arms like that, but the pages are turning because.
Was this sketch recently adapted into a Danish children's show by any chance?
I don't know.
Have you seen that Danish children's show about?
I haven't.
There's a Danish children's show about a little cartoon character who has to struggle with the world's longest penis, and it just it's like massively long. It's about sort of 6 times the length of his whole body, but when he uses it right, he can save the village or something like that. you asking for a timeout here. Listeners, Rob is banging his head against the wall if you're listening to the podcast version of this.
Sorry, I just had to stop for a moment there.
Valid response to the Danish children's show about a giant penis portion of the show.
Do I laugh or do I cry? I don't know. I have no. What's going on? What we where back to Freejack. Freejack. Sanity
Please.
Is Freejack.
Yeah.
What? At no point when we started this did I think that Sanity would be Freejack.
Yes. How did we get onto that?
I can't remember now.
Yeah, I'm completely lost as well. Yeah.
So anyway, Alex Furlong.
Because
he's on the run. He's met what's her face?
Amanda Plummer. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's that scene with the eagle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the motivational speech.
Oh man. There are some remarkable soliloquies in this.
Yes. That one sticks with you though.
It really does. There's lots of little bits of background detail in this that I just found really charmingly crap. Like when Alex Furlong first gets out into the streets of the future, there's this scene where he's looking around and it's trying to establish that this world is completely debased. And there's a scene where it shows a porn theatre and it's like says adult movies, and then the camera pans along a bit and it says in 3D, and it's like, oh my god, 3D porn films. That's where has he landed? The 1970s?
I thought you were going to talk about that big sign with the light bulbs.
The big breast-shaped sign with the light bulbs in the nipples. Yeah, that's pretty extraordinary too. But I mean, because we talked about Total Recall earlier, and when Total Recall wants to do sleaze, it's a Paul Verhoeven movie. It can do that. But when you were trying to sell me on a completely depraved, decadent future, you're gonna have to try a bit harder than 3D porn. Just a little bit.
I mean, what you've got to remember, folks, right, is at the time, in the 90s, the whole idea of 3D was very much in its infancy.
No, it wasn't. No, it was
yes, it was.
It was dead and buried. 3D films were made in the 1950s.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, when I say infancy, I mean by modern standards. There was a little bit of a resurgence, but we were very much at that point still kind of in the red and green lenses days of 3D.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, technologically, it was much less advanced, but there had been two cycles of 3D Hollywood movies in the 50s and the 80s, and they both
Yeah,
fizzled out. So,
yeah,
I think what they were meaning to imply was it's virtual reality, but they didn't
yeah.
know what virtual reality was, so they just put
Which is,
3D.
do you know the bizarre thing is they're saying they don't know what virtual reality was, but virtual reality had already started eking in because it was only 2 years after Freejack came out that I was at university,
Right?
right? And I was sitting in a a VR flight simulator in the Trocadero in London.
Yeah. I remember that everyone was talking about VR in the like very early 90s,
Yeah.
and I was only young. If I can remember it, I think people who were actually trying to make a science fiction movie should probably have it in their head a bit.
Either that or make it up, you know?
Yeah.
It's science fiction. Just use your imagination.
Well, a few years after this, you've got Strange Days by Catherine Bigelow, which is the best Catherine Bigelow movie. Nobody come at me with this, you know I'm right.
No, I agree with you.
Good.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's
I think Strange Days is an amazing film.
masterpiece. Yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. But
Um.
if you are talking about some imaginative future grot technology, that's the film to beat.
Yeah. Exactly. I totally agree with you. And I think that I think that Strange Days. Why can't we talk about Strange Days? Why don't we talk about Freejack? All right. Okay. Right.
But
Lasers.
there's a few films like that. There's a few sort of bits like that, bits of like tiny background set detail that just struck me as so like obviously if I'm watching a film that's made in 1991, 1992, whatever, I expect it to be dated, but you would have thought people at the time would have realized this wasn't working. Like they go to a future bar and all of these people with like genetically modified bits and weird tribal tattoos all over their body are listening to Jesus Jones.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
in
Because
they'd gone by like the time this was released.
see, I. This is where the imagination part comes in, right?
Yeah.
They didn't even think, oh, let's actually get some music specifically done for this film
Yeah.
that kind of reflects the ruined society, the ozone layer hole, the oncoming apocalyptic setting without it being the apocalypse. Let's get the dune buggies ready. Dune buggies, woohoo! So why not just get a bunch of artists together and have them make the music for this?
Yeah.
And since we've got Mick Jagger, why not get Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones to do the theme tune for Freejack instead of asking the Scorpions?
One of my favourite facts I found out about this is that the VHS had a Scorpions music video after the main film, and I just thought, have people not suffered enough? But yeah, it doesn't. I mean, the gold standard for doing something like that, I think, is Children of Men, which both has really weird, like, attempts to imagine a future music, but also has loads of imaginative uses of current music, like when Children of Men came out in the 2000s. The fact that you've got people of Michael Caine and Peter Mullen's age listening to Radiohead and the Libertines does sell you on the idea that this is some distance into the future, but there's nothing like that in here. It's just like modern hits.
Yeah, and that's the bit where in loads of other Jean-Luc Besson does The Fifth Element, yeah? And he's got this diva, Plava Laguna, whatever it is she's called.
Yeah.
And starts off doing opera and then goes into this weird kind of dance opera thing.
Yeah. It's and
I thought
a bit chic, isn't it? A bit disco.
Yeah, I thought that works. That's totally fine. I'm down with that. And the rest of the music in The Fifth Element kind of fit. It was slightly urban, slightly, slightly techno, but it wasn't really one particular style of music. It was all just a mashup of different things.
Yeah.
Though it fit kind of the futuristic sci-fi, grotty sci-fi type setting, which was fine. And that's been applied to so many other films. Even Blade Runner had its own specific style of music.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't understand. There's a lot of problems with Freejack, and a lot of it, I think, comes down to just they focused so much on wanting to have this setting that they literally ignored everything else because they wanted this setting. We want a story that's told in this particular setting. What's the story about? We don't know.
Yes.
And then just a group of people around a table going, it'd be great if they swap bodies.
Yeah. Well, it had serious production problems as well. Ronald Shusett, who we mentioned earlier, apparently reshot about 40% of this because, and this is very strange to me, the studio objected to Jeff Murphy focusing too much on the action. And you think, right, well, because if there's one thing this film has going for it, it's that the action sequences aren't bad,
Yeah.
So why would you take that away?
See, I really want to see the original version of Freejack. I really want to see the original version because I think that one of the problems that I had with Freejack was aside from Emilio Estevez and his really dodgy Arnold impression was just all of the attempts at making one-liners, action movie one-liners, and they all failed. And I can only put those down to the reshoots. Yeah. We need more humor. We need to make it lighter, make it more lighthearted, because that always works in a dystopian sci-fi setting.
Oh yeah, I go to these movies for the lols.
Can you imagine Mad Max? He doesn't kill people, just has a good laugh with them.
Estevez has actually confirmed that Shusett was brought in to lighten the tone and add more humour. I assume he's also responsible for the fact that most of the second half of this is so boring.
Yeah.
It's indefensibly boring. Anything with Mick Jagger as a future assassin who gets paid in Fabergé eggs, much like Krusty the Clown, should not be as dull as this. Also, crystals. Where the hell do you get a crystal that big that does a very specific thing, like swapping the soul from one body to another? That's really specific. And where do you find a crystal that does that? And how do you test that the crystal does that in the first place? Because again, it's a failure of world building, isn't it? It has all of these sort of cool looking trucks and things, and it has all of these big smashy action sequences, but no thought has been given to the matter of what kind of society develops these trucks. Why are they necessary? What happened when we dug up the soul swapping crystal, which I think would be a big moment in archaeological history. Yeah.
Do you remember Johnny Mnemonic?
Yeah.
Do you remember that whole contraption that they had in order to get the data out of Johnny's head?
Dimly, yeah.
It was like cables and wires all over the place, and he was, strapped in that chair, leaning back, and had to kind of mine through his brain and stuff. But there was this massive contraption that basically was just for one person. And I thought, why not just do that?
Yeah.
But you have to have this MacGuffin called a crystal, because crystals are the in thing. Everybody likes crystals.
Oh, God, they were back in the early 90s, weren't they? People were obsessed with crystals. Anyone would think the people of the early 90s had never seen crystal before.
I remember there were adverts in, newspapers and for crystals, healing crystals that could heal anything. And they're like, so does it work on things like cancer?
Yeah.
Yes! These crystals, rub it on the area where you have the cancer and it'll cure it. Like, do I look like a fool? Do I look like a moron?
How were they not sued out of existence? Yeah, absolutely
Because they were
bizarre.
Because they were mainly sold in America. And as you know, Americans really like things like that. Don't know why.
Yeah, no, it's a kind of it's the one thing that brings America together, isn't it? Like virulently anti-science Republicans can like stuff like this, and also sort of mushy liberal Oprah viewers can like stuff like this, and it's America's unifying bullshit, the bullshit that binds the nation together.
Faith healers, I can dig the
yeah.
bullet out with my hands and you will be healed.
I mean, I can pull a bullet out with my hands, but the patient isn't going to be in great shape afterwards.
Yeah, I was about to say that as well. I mean, I might have fat fingers, but I'm sure I can dig a bullet out.
Yeah.
It would also make the hole bigger.
Yeah, but give me a couple of false starts and I can do it.
Practice makes perfect. Sorry, that was grim humour there, wasn't it?
Yeah, like whistling past the graveyard here. We should talk a bit about Jagger's sort of screen persona, because it's like, out of everything I've done for pop screen, this seems to be the film that pays the least attention to its star's pre-established persona. This is the one film that seems to think, oh yeah, we can just chuck Mick Jagger in here and everyone will accept that. Well, no.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Mick Jagger is that he's not a chameleon. He doesn't fit into every role. There are certain roles that are very Mick Jagger and certain roles that really aren't. I mean, his role in Freejack as what was his name? Posednik, or whatever it was.
Something like that. It's a kind of vaguely Czech sounding name, isn't it?
Oh, I can't remember his name. I'm going to have to look this up. Victor Vachendak.
Vachendak, that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, his role as Victor Vachendak, it's too straight a role for Mick Jagger to play. It's too much of a straight man. And that, you see that in scenes like the car chase scene where you're getting Emilio Estevez with his dodgy one-liners and Mick Jagger's even lamer one-liners during that. And you just think, you're chasing him to catch him so that you can basically kill him in a really roundabout way.
Mick Jagger, who in that car chase keeps popping up on a sort of onboard computer in Emilio Estevez's vehicle. And every time he shuts the top of the laptop that it's on, it just springs back open again. He goes, thought you could get away from me a bit easier than that, didn't you? It's like, no, we are aware that you're going to be here for the whole film, and it traumatized us, frankly.
When he closes it the first time, he's like, oh no, I'm afraid of the dark.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm so glad that they added more comedy in the reshoots, because this is gold.
I just at that point I was just like, why am I still here? Why haven't I found something better to do, like painting the skirting boards downstairs? I don't know, hoovering the floor, anything.
Yes. So it's just so weird how, a month or two back, Mark Harrison and I watched Holy Motors, and Holy Motors is the kind of movie that could just drop Kylie Minogue in for incongruousness' sake, because it's weird. But it does actually take some time to get you over that hump of, yes, it's Kylie, it's fine, this is a Kylie cameo. This just seems to think they can cut away to Mick Jagger at any point and you will be able to just stop thinking that's Mick Jagger, and you can't.
Also, how the hell did Anthony Hopkins get third name on the billing when there's only like 12 minutes of him in total?
Just after Silence of the Lambs, wasn't it? He was he must have had an agent with a bit of muscle.
I mean, he's like Emilio Estevez, Mick Jagger, Anthony Hopkins.
He is in it for less than David Johansen, which suits me fine because I love David Johansen. But yeah, it is weird.
And the thing is, you just look at that and you go, yeah, badly green screened Anthony Hopkins. Maybe put that on there instead.
Yes.
I mean, where is it? This has a function, doesn't it, where you can put backgrounds on? Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, do you want to demonstrate the quality of the CGI in?
That's literally what I'm trying to find. Is oh yes. So this thing, okay. This then is the quality of
the subtle compositing of it.
If we're going sci-fi, then yeah, look, sci-fi stars, sci-fi. Way.
This is one of the things that Freejack successfully predicted, isn't it? That year when everyone is looking at the novelty Zoom backgrounds on your calls.
Yes. It's so bad.
That's true. One last note about Jagger's screen career. Obviously, he did a fair bit of stuff in the 70s, like Performance and more regrettably Ned Kelly. But his 1980s screen career was defined mostly by things he didn't make. He apparently got some way into shooting a remake of Laughter in the Dark, Tony Richardson's adaptation of a not very good Vladimir Nabokov novel before that collapsed on the basis of why are we remaking a Tony Richardson version of a not very good Vladimir Nabokov novel. But the other near miss he had, which is incredible, was he was almost in one of the greatest films of the 1980s. Mick Jagger was almost in Fitzcarraldo.
No.
Yes.
No.
I'm serious.
This. No. Seriously.
Yes. Yeah. If you watch Burden of Dreams, the documentary Les Blanc made about the making of Fitzcarraldo, there are some clips from an earlier attempt Herzog made at making that film where most of the cast fell ill and it had to be abandoned. And the Klaus Kinski role was played by Jason Robards in that version. But there was a character who isn't in the finished version, who was like Fitzcarraldo's helper, played by Mick Jagger. And when Herzog got the final thing made, he said he cut that role out of the script because no one other than Mick Jagger would be as good.
Oh,
I mean, he says he's not mad, but then he goes around and says stuff like that.
See, I don't know how to take that. I don't know how to process that. Fitzcarraldo's helper and no one being better at the role than Mick Jagger. And my brain is desperately trying to kind of mash the two things together and come up with something. And it's not working, Graham. It's not working.
Can you not imagine a version of Fitzcarraldo where there's a skinny guy running around going, Brian, the Indians are pushing the boat down the mountain.
See, that's where my mind is rebelling. I Manifest Destiny, this is not.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
can you imagine the Search for the Northwest Passage starring Mick Jagger
I mean,
as the Indian girl?
yes. The new world with Mick Jagger as Pocahontas. Mick Jagger in a Terrence Malick movie would be amazing because he could not take his voiceover down to the whisper.
I'm just thinking about how many movies could be improved with the addition of Mick Jagger and how many movies would be destroyed with the addition of Mick Jagger.
Yeah. I think that the former is definitely a less populated list.
See, I think that Mick Jagger's like Pepper, right? He's like Pepper when it comes to movies. A little bit of Mick Jagger in a film can do wonders, you know?
Yeah.
But if you use too much Mick Jagger, like Freejack did,
yes,
then it becomes really, really distasteful and really bad on the tongue. You know?
Do you think that this film could be better if Mick Jagger played the Anthony Hopkins role?
Actually, that might have been interesting.
I think he could play the kind of rich weirdo who wants to steal someone else's body.
Isn't that the role he's been playing for like 50 years? Yeah, won't go there. There are stories. But yeah, I think that he might have been better as the big bad guy, and they could have had more of him in the film then.
Yeah.
You know, they could have had more of him in the film. I don't know why, but for some reason, in my brain, I've just got like Mick Jagger as a cameo in Interview with the Vampire.
Oh yeah, that works.
I don't know why, but it kind of fits, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The flamboyant British vampire.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I'm sure he would have been on the list of like about 8,000 different actors that Anne Rice wanted to play Lestat.
Well, I know wasn't the second story about Lestat, was it Queen of the Damned, was it?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't he supposed to be like a rock star in that?
Yes, I'd forgotten that.
And then they did the film version of it, and everyone went, "Aww."
Yeah. And it was like that was released like shortly after Aaliyah died, so you can't even have fun dunking on it because you're just so depressed watching it.
Yeah. But back to Freejack.
Back to Freejack, yeah.
What I want to know is how the hell did everyone know he's a Freejack when he just comes knocking on the door?
Yeah. Because the Freejack listeners, if you haven't watched the movie, it's like, what the hell is it? It's someone whose body's been stolen, but they haven't gone through with the operation, I guess, and they're just sort of running around loose. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, free and easy.
Yeah, just.
I mean, I'm just my brain's gone back to bonejacking and taking the modern take on it, and now Freejack has totally different connotation in my head.
Yeah, the Louis C.K. went down for less.
Emilio Estevez has gone commando.
I can picture that as like an 80s movie tagline.
I mean, it might have been a line from his brother's film, Hot Shots. You don't know. I mean, Charlie Sheen is going commando works just as well.
Yes. Oh, man.
So, yeah. Emilio Estevez did Loaded Weapon, didn't he?
Oh, he did. Yeah. What a strange thing that was when people go, oh, we need someone who's kind of like Leslie Nielsen, but younger. Probably like Martin Sheen's kids, I think. They'd be good. Really?
Do you know what it probably is? It's probably Men at Work. They probably watched Men at Work and thought, do you know, these two have some interesting comedy timing. let's get them to do more comedy films, thinking, oh yeah, we can get them to do comedy films separate of each other, instead of thinking, maybe we should do more films with the two of them in the same film.
Yes, yeah.
Because it worked in Young Guns. Young Guns 2 was okay. Men at Work was good. So why not have the two of them do a comedy film together like they did with Men at Work? It might have been interesting to see. I wouldn't advise doing it now, but back then, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any more reminiscences about Freejack before we go to the lobotomizer?
Yeah, lasers. I can't say lasers without a little kind of a little old Nazi-esque lady in my head going on the lasers.
I thought you were getting a little bit of Dr. Evil in there as well.
Yeah, that's one too many Austin Powers movies.
Yeah.
But you think with it being a futuristic sci-fi movie, right? There'd be more futuristic weaponry.
Yes.
Okay, maybe it's only 20 years in the future, but maybe make the guns look a bit more, I don't know, futuristic. I just paint some cardboard and smack it over an M16 if you want. So, it looks boxier. It might still fire bullets, but it looks the part.
Yes, yeah.
And just the distinct lack of lasers outside of the light show when he gets to the future, when they kidnap him and they have that grid-like laser, the red thing.
Yeah.
That appears. And then just the whole thing with the crystal... The Dark Crystal. No, that's a different film.
Yes. Jim Henson could have really saved this movie, though.
It needed an ogre. That's it. No, it had one. It was Mick Jagger. No. Hang on. If we're likening this to Dark Crystal, that means Mick Jagger was ogre, Emilio Estevez was the Gelfling, and Anthony Hopkins was the Skeksis.
See, I'm thinking of it in Muppet terms, where it's like, if you make a movie into a Muppet movie, there must be one person who isn't a Muppet, and I genuinely like the idea of Emilio Estevez being the only non-Muppet. Like, even in the present day scenes, he's asking his girlfriend to nibble him on the ear. It's Janice from Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
See, I love that, but the nibble my ear thing, I just like...
Yeah, so weird. With the early 90s that boring that counted as a sort of exciting kink that a guy who lives on the edge might have?
Well, I saw one review of Freejack on YouTube recently, and I think it was from Joe Blow Films or whatever it was, and he made a reference to the notorious Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield fight.
Yes.
And I was like, that's beautiful, because that was around that time as well, wasn't it?
Maybe that's what killed this film's box office, that people just weren't ready for an ear-nibbling hero so soon after that.
I mean, nibbling his ear for luck, I mean, that's...
Nah.
I mean, no. That's like asking someone to bite your toenails for luck.
It's a thankless role, but Rene Russo did meet her husband on the set of this movie, so, did well for her.
We take what we can get.
And that husband was a CGI Anthony Hopkins. No, it wasn't.
You never know. There are some women out there who would be happy with the CGI Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, I don't presume about anyone. This
You know?
CGI Anthony Hopkins, though?
Maybe not this one.
Nah.
And maybe not the one from Silence of the Lambs either.
No.
Maybe not those Anthony Hopkins, but the one from Remains of the Day, he'll be all right, I reckon.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for that. Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps it up, really, for Freejack.
Never again, Graham.
You know
Never
what?
again.
When I pitched you the idea for this podcast, you were so excited about doing Freejack.
That's because my memory betrayed me, and then I started watching Freejack again, and then I remembered Freejack after I started watching it again, and I thought, oh no, what? Am I... you know when the penny drops, and you just have that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, and you just think,
Yes.
I volunteered for this.
The tragedy of Freejack is that you can never jack again. But yes, if you've enjoyed what you're heaving, and let's face it, why wouldn't you?
I'm sorry, that's a Backrack and David song that I can't get out of my head now. What have you done to my memories of Deacon Blue?
Listeners, if you've enjoyed this, you can get a monthly bonus episode by donating to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Geek Show, as well as several other goodies, including Director's Lottery, our other film podcast, which is Patreon only. But until then, I've been Graham.
And I've been Rob.
And we'll see you next week.
Without Freejack.